Captain Haddock is arguably one of the most iconic side characters in history, and when you analyse him as a piece of culture, you come to realise something very quickly. Captain Haddock is criminally underrated. Better than Tintin even. In The Adventures of Tintin, Captain Haddock acts as the easily angered, quick-tempered side character to the calm and collected Tintin. He's often seen as the comic relief of the series, and while he is appreciated, people often underlook the serious character design that obviously went into him. Before Haddock even opens his mouth, you already know who he is. The beard, the sailor's uniform, the enormous eyebrows, the posture and the expressions. Herge didn't need 20 colours, intricate armour or a ridiculous amount of detail. He gave Haddock a handful of incredibly simple visual characteristics, which was enough. You could probably draw Haddock with 10 lines and a few shapes, and I'd still know exactly who you were drawing. And that's one of the secrets of great character design: recognition. Everything about Captain Haddock has been designed to make him as memorable as possible, and his mannerisms are no different. As soon as he opens his mouth, you know instantly who it is. Instead of making Captain Haddock the textbook angry guy, Herge gave him one of the most bizarre vocabularies in comics. He somehow turns an insult into a performance. His language is exaggerated, theatrical, and completely unpredictable, and he's always overreacting about the smallest of things. There is a very specific reason for this. Captain Haddock has weird insults in The Adventures of Tintin because his creator Herge wanted him to swear like a real sailor without using actual profanity. Heavy censorship in the 1940s prevented real cursing. Herge needed non-offensive words that still carried a huge amount of anger, and phrases like billions of blue blistering barnacles and 10,000 thundering typhoons conveyed a lot of anger without being actual swear words. Now this gives him an incredibly unique and human quality, something which Tintin, who is the main character, does not have. Tintin and Captain Haddock are the yin and yang of each other. They are opposing forces which counter each other perfectly and stop the story from feeling too repetitive. Tintin could be investigating and then Haddock will come and make a mistake and destroy everything, and even though on paper that sounds counterproductive, it breaks up what would otherwise be a pretty straightforward comic to read. I mean, with Captain Haddock you get these fever dream type moments that are so unbelievably Haddock, you couldn't give them to anyone else. There's no explanation necessary. You look at this and immediately understand the character. This is Captain Haddock, and that's what iconic actually means. It's not about whether a character is famous or not. It's about whether a character has become so visually and emotionally distinctive that you can recognise them from almost anything they do. That's why I firmly believe Captain Haddock is an example of character design that is very hard to find. Most characters need some sort of text to explain who and what they are, while Captain Haddock just exists and people recognise him. It's easy to reduce Captain Haddock to one thing. He's the angry one, the drunk one, the one who shouts bizarre insults, but that's only the surface. Herge understood that a character has to be multifaceted in order for the audience to relate to them, because underneath all of that, Haddock is incredibly loyal, and when Tintin is in danger, Haddock doesn't hesitate. When his friends need him, he shows up, and he'll repeatedly put himself in situations that terrify him because he doesn't want to abandon the people he cares about. That's a pretty important distinction. Haddock may complain about everything, but he doesn't abandon anyone, and that's what makes him so likeable. This is why calling Captain Haddock the funny guy or the angry guy seriously undersells him. Yes, he's hilarious, yes, he's a walking disaster, and yes, he probably has the most aggressive vocabulary in the history of literature, but he is actually an exercise in perfect character design. People love him because underneath all the shouting is someone who cares enormously. He's flawed, emotional, ridiculous, and occasionally cowardly, but he's fiercely loyal. In other words, he's human. And Herge understood something incredibly important about character design. The characters people remember aren't necessarily the perfect ones. They're the ones who feel the most alive, who feel as if they could actually be a real person in real life. So after everything we've looked at, I think there's something remarkable about Captain Haddock. He was introduced on January the 9th, 1941, making his first appearance on page 4 of the weekly use supplement Herge wrote for. He debuted in The Adventures of Tintin, with the story being titled The Crab with the Golden Claws, as a dysfunctional, alcoholic sea captain who was initially there to complicate Tintin's adventure. However, he ended up becoming Tintin's sidekick, and as the series progressed, he became a standing feature of the story. Somehow, over the course of that series, that character became something much bigger. He became Tintin's closest friend, he became one of the defining forces of that entire series, and eventually he became one of the most recognisable characters in comics. But I think that's because Herge did something incredibly difficult. He didn't design Haddock to be deliberately iconic. He designed a character who felt oddly specific. A particular face, a particular voice, a particular way of moving, a particular way of reacting to the world. The more Herge developed him, the more those details accumulated into something very unmistakable, which is why Haddock doesn't feel like a character assembled from a list of traits. He feels like a person. A memorable character makes you remember them. A great character makes you feel like you know them. You know exactly how Haddock would react to a situation. That's an extraordinary achievement for a character drawn with a handful of lines on a page. And perhaps the most impressive thing is that Haddock has outlived the world that created him. The technology has changed. The culture has changed. Comics, dare I say, have changed. Yet Herge has been gone for decades and Haddock still works. That beard still works. That silhouette still works.